Right, as part of our how-to series, I'm going to talk to you about the washing line technique, which is something I use a lot at Hatchmore Fishery in places where you need a bit of stealth, a bit of quietness. 3 reasons on here. 1, line lay, because I'll be fishing over quite a bit of weed on the lake. 2, I can get right in underneath the bush by placing the bait under the bush. And 3, that line can then come back up from the lead and be well hidden up to the bank stick where the washing line is leading from. You can also place the bait around it quite easily, and it creates a lovely little spot right in under the bushes that you'd never be able to cast to in a million years. When it goes, it really goes. It's fantastic. Let's hope we get one. Right, so first things first, let's get a bare lead, cross that tight little spot over there next to the bush I was talking about just now, and then we'll go around, get a rig on and place it on the spot with a nice bit of bait around it. Right, so retrieve the lead, which actually landed in the right spot, which is a miracle in itself. More often than not it doesn't. So just going to attach the rig. I'm using a very basic kind of combi rig here with a quick change link on it, so if I need to change the hook I can quickly. Slide that onto the helicopter setup with a drop off lead, and then I shall be placing it right in underneath the bush, bit of bait round it, onto the washing line and back across to the rod, waiting for that massive drop back to occur, hopefully. Let's see if we can't get one. Stick this under the bush now. The reason I'm not that bothered at the moment is because the majority of the bites on here come from midnight right through to the morning. So I'm expecting this to go off really first light. So all my disturbance is long gone by then. But one thing I can rest assured is that this will be right on the spot, and I can leave this for as long as possible. I could leave it for the whole session and it'll just be fishing. So I'm going to take a little bit of slack off the spool, which is loosened up just enough to get some line off it, so that I've got enough to get out to this little spot. Walk it out to the spot. Lift it clear of the weed, which it tends to catch on the top of it if you're not careful. Walk it out to the spot, and I'll always place it with the rig, with the bait down the slope from the lead. Just then it's the furthest possible distance away from any line that's lying across up to the bank stick. I'll just sink all this line down as far as I can and as slack as I can up to my bank stick. Use 2 bands. The bottom one goes down to the rig. Just pull it through with a baiting needle, like so. Doesn't need to be tight. And the top one, which is the tighter of the 2, just goes back to the rod. And the reason I have 2 is basically because if a bird does fly into it and pulls one of them out, hopefully the other one will stay in and you can come and easily pop it back into the band. So that's all super slack down there now, going right down to the lead. I can feel the lead. There's a slight bit of slack in the line, but there's nothing coiled up and it's all just running down that bank lovely. The fish will suspect nothing. I mean, the beauty of placing the baits is also the accuracy of baiting up around the bait. I mean, you can get it spot on, right over the top of where you've laid it. and then anything, if you want to bring them in, you can scatter a bit around the edge. Bring it in, and that's all you need. Nice little trap set in a place they feel safe, and they'll come in there it's pretty guaranteed that they'll come in there from midnight onwards in the early hours once we've shut up and stopped all this wading around. Hopefully they'll get in under that tree, and we'll have the usual big drop back on the rod back at the business end. So just taking up the slack down to that bit of grass that was through that loop, lifting all the line above the water, keeping the rod nice and high to keep it all clear of the water. So the only line that's in the water is that lovely slack bit of line going down to the bait from the bank. Cleared all the weed, take up the tension, and hopefully that will drop back with the fish having released it from the band on the other side. Bit of extra weight on the bobbin just to pull it back, and that should go off with a clank later. The idea is, obviously there's minimal line in the water, the fish isn't spooked, it's on a spot where the fish feels safe, which is right in under the bush. When the fish releases, the fish takes up the tension, feels the lead, it's pulled out of the band, pulled out of the second band. Neither of them are held in overly tight, just tight enough to take the tension across from the rod. When that pulls out, this rod, which has got a bit of a bend in it, where it's taking up the strain, will just spring back, the bobbin will drop down, and you've got to be on it quick because you've got a tightened up clutch. There will be some slack. You just take up the slack and then play the fish as per normal. Fingers crossed that goes off. Morning people, there's proof that the old washing line on these smaller waters works. Bit of stealth always needed. We weren't too stealthy last night, but I knew they'd be back first thing in the morning, and this 27-pound beautiful Hatchmore fish is proof of that. So this one came on the CR2 barrel rafters using the old PB rig, which I shall go through with you shortly. Lovely job.